our exploration of the rare books and special collections at UBC, we stumbled upon Jack Shadbolt's fonts and sought to learn more about him through one of the sketchbooks he had used during his time at the Art Students League.
Jack Shadbolt is a famous abstract Canadian painter that is known for his work on the struggles of First Nations, World War II, and the environmental movement, as he often incorporated his personal experiences and his cultural context into his artwork. Shadbolt was born in 1909 in England, but was raised in Victoria, BC from the age of 3.
Shadbolt's work is recognized and displayed in galleries all across Canada, and he has received awards for his work, namely the Order of Canada in 1972, as well as an honorary degree from the University of British Columbia. Shadbolt died of heart failure in 1998 at the age of 89.
Jack Shadbolt attended the Art Student League in New York City in 1948 to 1949. He was 39 years old then, and he had just moved to New York City after the war with his wife Doris. The Art Students League was founded in 1875 and offer classes on a monthly basis. They are rooted in tradition, dedicated to nonconformity.
The Art Student League is the 5th school he attended, but during his time there he was highly influenced by Picasso, Surrealism, and Abstract Expressionism.
In one of the first pages of Jack Shadbolt's sketchbook, dated as September 6th, we found an abstract pencil drawing of what first appeared to be an elaborate image of a person sitting on a throne wearing a regal headdress. After reading the excerpt next to the sketch, we found more context behind the image, with the influence and background information he was taught in art school that was incorporated in his sketch. In the first few lines, Shadbolt writes, "The myth is reality. It is the voice of the people. Its conception is communal and contains individual identities for collective ideals of people. It is recognition of identity which keeps myths alive." Shadbolt uses this concept of mythology in studying multiple eras, including the Bronze and Paleolithic, but specifically using that of ancient Egypt for his abstract interpretation of a pharaoh to address that myths are capable of taking different shapes based upon the perspectives of individuals. While continuing to search through his sketchbook, we found many other depictions of Egyptian figures, all representing very different styles and meanings from the first. This specific image shows the figure as having a skeletal body and a similar extravagant headdress, with Shadbolt associating it with the phrase, "Science and reason are to replace the mythic substance." These words imply that within the duration of his studies, Shadbolt had evolved from the idea of artistic mythology towards a more realistic and biological framework for sketches of Egyptian influence.
Throughout Shadbolt's sketchbook, we found various sketches that emulated First Nations imagery and artwork. The drawing that I chose depicts 2 birds shown from different angles. He uses a thin marker to outline and lightly shade these drawings. He did not use any color in his sketches, but instead labeled different portions with colors he planned to incorporate later on. This indicated to us that he planned to redraw and further develop the ideas we found in his sketchbook into more elaborate and finished works. This drawing was also accompanied by text that describes his inspiration for the sketch and the message he hoped to convey. In doing this, Shadbolt used themes from Shakespeare's Hamlet and discussed how perceptions are shaped by our cultural context. This can be seen as he says, "Hamlet is mad with both eyes in the same head, but is only mad to the simple-minded." Although he made no specific links to the drawing itself, we can assume that Shadbolt hoped to convey the timelessness of these themes and how they are applicable in different contexts.
This next sketch, likely finished in January of 1948, draws inspiration from Rabelais, a French writer and humanist. He explores the effects of society's rules on humanity and how these rules and laws do not, quote, permit man to achieve the rounded life. He uses this to imagine a society with a complete absence of rules, what he calls an amorphous state. We can see this in the drawing, as he depicts a black and white image with a mixture of curved and straight lines and no real defined subject for this sketch. This image encapsulates the idea of an area free of rules. We can also see humanist elements in the image. We do not see any depictions of rulers, gods, or higher beings, but instead an amorphous blob of white on top of a black background.
Jack Shadbolt labels the sketch drawn on December 1st, 1948, Henry Botkin, Wandering Minstrel. This sketch depicts a minstrel, a medieval European entertainer, with a guitar. Henry Botkin was an abstract painter who studied at the Art Students League alike Shadbolt, and shared letters of correspondence with him. Although Botkin is an abstract painter, Shadbolt's art in this sketch uses much more distinct lines. On these pages, Shadbolt analyzes Moby Dick, a novel written in 1851 that details the adventures of Captain Ahab, who is looking for Moby Dick, a great white whale known to destroy whalers. He begins the page by saying, "Man enters the arena against a foe who knows is bigger and stronger than he is, but he still enters the arena. Therein lies human dignity." Through this line, he prepares for a discussion of Captain Ahab's search and struggle for and against Moby Dick. At first glance, his analyzation of Moby Dick doesn't have much to do with the sketch he drew. Perhaps he drew the wandering minstrel as a way of showing how Ahab wandered throughout the seas in search of this whale. Or maybe he meant that a minstrel brings entertainment, and in many ways the story of Ahab's struggle is entertainment to us. But what we do know is that Jack Shadbolt loves to compare, contrast, and juxtapose literature and art.